So I stopped blocking and I had this enormous giant meltdown, like this tsunami sized emotional release because I had been suppressing this for so long. And I come home looking a complete wreck. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" Right. And I'm like, that's when I came to that point. It's like, I hate myself sometimes. And of course, he doesn't know that or understand. He just loves me for who I am and thinks I'm amazing. Right. And I'm like, this needs to stop. And that's when I started to see things a little differently. And I'm like, I'm going to stop chasing. I'm going to allow. I'm going to attract. I'm going to stop chasing. And it did shift my energy.
Hi, I'm Debbie Thompson, and this is a Stone in My Shoe podcast. Like a stone in your shoe, we all carry things that quietly shape the way we walk through life. Through honest conversations and powerful stories, we discover the wisdom that helps us understand ourselves and walk a little more freely. And today's guest is Ramona Kossowan. Ramona is Canada's first certified gentle trauma release practitioner, a women's wellness coach, and founder of the Renew Method. Through nervous system healing, mindful movement, and body based practices, she helps women move beyond survival mode and reconnect with themselves so they can experience lasting change from the inside out. She's married with 2 boys and lives in Alberta. Welcome, Ramona. So lovely to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, amazing. So before we begin, I'd just love to ground this for the woman who's listening. As she listens to your story today, what do you hope she quietly begins to recognize in herself?
I think that it's safe to put down your armor when you've become this resourceful, autonomous woman that you are today, that you needed your armor and your walls at a time when you weren't protected, didn't feel safe, or couldn't fully be seen. And as you create that safety now as the autonomous and sovereign woman that you are, that armor is no longer needed and it can be replaced with just healthy boundaries.
I really like that, taking off your armor and just having healthy boundaries. And I'm sure
Yeah.
as we go through your stone and your story today, we'll come back to that. I love analogies and I love stories and I love pictures because it's so easy for me to go, yep, armor off, safe boundaries. I'm safe.
It's so relatable
Lovely.
that way.
Yeah, really relatable. I do love
Yeah.
images. So before we get into your story today, where are you in this season of your life and what feels most important to you?
I'm really leaning into quality of life. I know that sounds, what does that mean? But even when I think about exercise, my relationship with food, how I'm showing up in my business and with my family, I want to be able to breathe a little bit. I want to be able to have some spaciousness in my life. Yes, I am busy, but the quality of life and the moment and the connections. So I'm okay with having less connections when the ones that I have are feel nourishing and very reciprocal.
I love all those words that you've used, quality and nourishing and connection, because I think the Western world's kind of curse is our busyness, and our busyness hides so much from us. And it's almost the blinkers that stop us seeing our armor and stop us seeing things. But by quality and spaciousness, you allow yourself to feel and see and receive. So, love those words.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, you're on here for the stone in my shoe, and every stone has a shoe. So, what's the stone you're sharing today, and how would you describe it?
I realized at some point, not at some point, a very pivotal point, it wasn't like this mind-blowing thing from the outside, but I realized that I really underneath it's sometimes was hating myself. I hated myself at times. And I just realized I couldn't continue like that anymore. And I wasn't going to continue like that anymore. And it wasn't an instant, sudden, everything changed, but my trajectory changed and how I was seeing things changed. And that opened up different opportunities and another path and allowed me to be more compassionate and self respecting with myself.
Okay, so let's go back to, you said there was this pattern of hating yourself. Can you go back to the first, looking back on the journey now, when that first showed up and how it showed up in your life? Was it a voice? Was it how you treated yourself? And then, yeah, let's stop there and then I'll ask you some other questions. Otherwise, it's just too overloaded.
Yeah, it started very young, I think, like it does for most of us. Just very painful experiences that piled up. A lot of it was with women or girls at that stage, and then repeated layer upon layer, so that I just felt that underneath who I was really wasn't lovable and likable, and I needed to hide parts of myself. But when I came to this point, my children were little. My youngest was probably just a baby toddler, and I was trying to juggle my work, being a mom, living in a small community, and feeling very lonely, very alone. And it probably drove people away because I felt lonely and nobody wants a needy friend.
Mm.
The vibes just come through. And then I was trying to build a little side hustle business as well. And it was all just fear driven. Like I was trying to connect with people. Do you use the phrase FOMO, like fear of missing out? Is that a thing? Okay. So I would, for example, insert myself in social situations or circles for fear of missing out on an opportunity to finally have some decent friends, to finally belong. And a lot of it just felt gross to me. It didn't feel good. It made me feel worse. So at some point, when I had this kind of epiphany, is I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not inserting myself where I'm not going to be seen or understood, or I know that there's like whisperings going on behind my back. I'm just not going to do that. And it just shifted. It was a subtle shift, but it made me see things a little differently.
And it's almost opposite of what you're doing now, spaciousness, quality. It was like fear of missing out. I need to be everywhere. And it's almost this desperation. And as you said, it comes from a totally different energy of receiving and relaxing into it. And how many of us are driven by fear, whether it's lack of money, lack of friendships, lack of self-worth, whatever it comes from. But you're right, the kind of energy you're putting out attracts the kind of energy you probably is not good for you. So in a small, I don't know much about Alberta, but obviously in a small town, is that hard to find whole new groups of friends? Like, how did that work for you in reality?
Actually, the whole emergence into being a new mom was quite isolating because prior to that, I was living in the city, Calgary, nearby. And I didn't want to stay there long term, but I had no mom friends, of course. I was working full time in a job that had me busy on weekends. So I didn't really have a tight circle of friends outside of like work friends. And then I became a mom. I had no connections and it was so isolating. And we moved not long after that to this smaller community. And of course, there's always good people, but it felt very cliquey. And like I tried going to moms groups and I didn't feel like I really belonged anywhere because I went back to work not long around when my son was a year old. And I didn't really fit in anywhere. I didn't fit in with the working moms, but I didn't fit in with the full-time moms who were talking about things that really didn't feel that exciting to me. I don't want to get together with moms and talk about how to scrape the goo out of the side of the dishwasher. They were literally talking about that. I'm like, why are we talking about this? And I just didn't feel like I had a place that felt welcoming to me. So it was a
Mm.
difficult phase.
So I'm just wondering if that stone could speak to you now, what do you think it would be have been saying to you every day during that period?
Oh, I think it would be just give myself some grace. Like
Yeah.
it's such a big transition. Give myself grace and allow that the right connection to unfold at the right time. I think I was comparing myself to women in different situations, like maybe knew someone or their circle of friends for a very long time, or for who were very social. And I'm more introverted in that I don't like to be out there all the time. And I was comparing myself to others and
Mm.
wanting what they had. And I think I needed to give myself some more grace, that it is a time of big transition, especially going back to work as a new mom.
So if the stone could say that, it was saying, give yourself grace, Ramona. But
Yeah.
what were you actually hearing?
I was hearing that I don't belong anywhere. It was, I don't belong anywhere. And I hate this. I hate all of this. So I'm just going to stop trying. That's what the stone was probably shouting at me.
And I guess as well, I don't know, but I've been in that situation before. And the way I compensated was by being busy, by achieving, by showing that I was good enough in other areas of myself. Does any of that relate to how you were doing things as well?
Maybe a little bit later, when my second child, my second son, was about a year old, I actually followed my mom's entrepreneurial footsteps because she actually planted a seed for me in the most impossible of circumstances. And I started to follow in her footsteps. But there was a fear behind it, a fear of not getting somewhere fast enough, of needing to experience something sooner. So, of course, the tighter you grip on things, the less they come together. So that's when I noticed building a side hustle and being a mom and working. It was a lot. If I see pictures of myself, I had a lot of bags under my eyes at that time.
So your stone was gently trying to talk to you to say, be compassionate, give yourself time, and you were ramping it up, doing a side hustle, mum of two children, trying to hold it all together. How was your stone reflecting that back to you? Was it just absorbing all of that? I'm curious about the feedback you were getting and whether you listened to it or just pushed it to the side as we often do.
I push it to the side quite a bit. Once in a while, I would connect to go, I maybe really need to start doing something like some meditation or something. I really didn't know what to do with all of this. I was carrying a lot of unresolved trauma, and it was just taking up a lot in my body. And sometimes I get feedback that I'm intimidating, and I'm like, but I'm a nice person, right? But my walls and armor were up. I did not, was not able to be vulnerable, really. It's so at one point, which I share in my book chapter, is I was going for a massage. Of course, I had a lot of muscle armoring and jaw clenching and body pain. And I was going for a massage, and the therapist, the practitioner, also did energy work. And she asked if I'd like to try that. I'm like, sure, I'm open minded about holistic sort of things. And she's, I feel like you're blocking. I'm like, shit. Don't call me out on it. So I stopped blocking, and I had this enormous giant meltdown, like this tsunami sized emotional release, because I had been suppressing this for so long. And I come home looking a complete wreck. And my husband's, are you okay? And I'm like, that's when I came to that point is I hate myself sometimes. And of course, he doesn't know that or understand. He just loves me for who I am and thinks I'm amazing. Right. And I'm like, this needs to stop. And that's when I started to see things a little differently. And I'm like, I'm going to stop chasing. I'm going to allow. I'm going to attract. I'm going to stop chasing. And it did shift my energy. And it's, of course, more doors opened over time. But that was definitely a point where my perspective changed.
And that's quite a pivotal moment going in there, having a massage, doing some energy work, just release. And at that point, trusting whatever released. And then I go, were you surprised at what came out? What that sometimes I hate myself. Or did you quietly know that? Or was it a surprise to you?
Oh, I quietly knew that. I think I shocked the practitioner because I come in all looking all confident, got it all together. And she's, what did I just? And like it was a messy snot cry, like disaster, right? So it just pointed to me that I had this deep seated need and I needed to tend to it.
And it's interesting how it was that one moment, that massage, that woman who was there, energy, the fact that you trusted it to release it, but
Yeah.
also that at that point you were ready to go, oh my gosh, I need to do something. Perhaps if you had had that 10 years ago, you would have just brushed it under the, who knows, you get curious about these things. So this was a big epiphany is I have to do something different. I can't carry on like this. The armor has to go. That's new to a lot of people. How
Mhm.
did you support yourself in that journey?
It wasn't immediate. I didn't really know exactly what to do with this. Wasn't an expert. I didn't have the training and experience I have now, and I didn't have the experiences I've had now. But what I did do is I decided I'm no longer going to try to insert myself with people or circumstances that make me feel gross. So if this feels gross to me, I'm just going to just release it. I'm stopping this fear of missing out. So that was a big one. there and just realizing that I needed to enjoy the process a bit more. I was building my little fledgling business at the time. I need to enjoy this a little bit more and let go of the outcome and let it be what it will be. And that was like the beginning. And other things came up in my path along the way that changed my path further organically.
And that's interesting because it's almost as though you were shedding before you were rebuilding, letting go of relationships that weren't serving you, giving yourself more time, almost shedding this busyness and achievement and what are the outcomes? And let's have fun. Let's see where it goes. And so how did that doing that, how did that make you feel?
It felt like relief. It just felt like relief. Okay, I can do this. I can let go a little bit. I'm going to be okay. And some interesting things opened up to me too. At one point, I feel like I manifested some things with my little fledgling business at the point where I kind of felt like, do I want to keep going? Am I cut out for these things? It was different than what I'm doing now, but I won a trip and I won some other things. And I knew I'd manifested it because not long after that, I started reading The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you've read that,
Yes, I
but I'm
have.
looking
Yeah.
at it, I'm like, oh, shut up, right? I'm reading that, shut up. That's what I did, right? I didn't even realize what I'd done, right? But it's no way, right? It was just so affirming. Wow, okay, that's what was going on there, right? And it left me with a deeper connection to my intuition so I could listen to more of those little nudges and move forward when things felt a little bit scary, but still felt like a yes.
And that's, I'm just going to take you back to that. The intuition is right at the beginning when you said, I'm going to not go and meet up with people where I felt gross. Because that's trusting your intuition, that feeling of, oh, I don't belong here. And so often we go to places and it does feel off, but oh, shut up, don't be so ridiculous. Everybody else is having fun. How did you learn to really connect to that little inner voice, which is your intuition, at the beginning? Because this was all kind of new, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I am a highly empathetic person and sensitive, but I had just blocked a lot of it because of growing up in a strict patriarchal religious household. It made me just shut off everything, right? But I started to trust it more and notice it more and connected with different opportunities to further that healing, not rejecting my feminine side, not rejecting my sensitive side, and just noticing how my body spoke to me. Cause I'm like, okay, wow, that was a full body yes right there, right? Or that's like a no, right? Practice and being able to be a little more present with myself.
So this was a lot of little things over time, just in real life, getting feedback. Oh, that felt good. Yes, that was the yes. And then, as you said, you were manifesting anyway. You didn't have the actual proper words for it, but you were doing all of that, which is trusting your intuition and releasing and letting go. And because a big one is trust, isn't it? And release.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you no longer care what people think or what they perceive of you, for one, you stop judging yourself and them, but they often respond differently to you because you aren't really attached to the outcome. So I found that very interesting.
And so, did you find that with your friends as you let go of this tightly controlling, I need to belong, and was I do belong because I belong to myself? Did that help?
It did. It also helped me to not feel jealous because I was always jealous of the couple friends, couples that go everywhere and travel with all their kids. And I didn't have that. And honestly, my husband wasn't interested. He's not interested in that. So it wasn't going to happen anyway. So I stopped being jealous, comparing, because I think there was just part of me wanting to make up for not feeling that so much in my younger years. It is what it is, right? So I just started to enjoy what I had more.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, isn't it? Is enjoying what you have instead of projecting what you think you might like because it looks, and who knows behind closed door what's happening with those people. As you said, the therapist, you came in, you looked like this woman who had everything together, bit of energy healing and all this stuff come up. She couldn't have predicted that. And people seeing you on the street would never have known that either. So there's so often we think everyone else has got everything together, but there's behind the scenes, they could be talking to themselves the same way as sometimes I hate myself, sometimes I don't belong, whatever it is. That vulnerability and being honest. And you said right at the beginning about if the stone could talk, it would about being compassion. Did you find that you gave yourself so much more compassion?
I did. Yeah, I stopped when I started treating myself with more inner respect, to me, that feels like compassion, because I'm respecting that part of me that's wanting something or feels like she's missing out or is missing out on a deeply felt need, that I'm not going to go get it from those external sources.
That's all internally. So how long did this whole process take of you having the massage and it being revealed so clearly to not just stripping off the first lots of armor, but going a little bit deeper so you had this deep sense of peace and clarity?
I connected with a life coach and a business coach in 2017. And for me to invest in a business coach was a very big step. And I had to convince my husband, because it was kind of scary to invest in coaching. I'd never done that before, but I knew I wanted to grow my business. And at that point, it had some new certifications. And I just was stuck. And this was after kind of a difficult year where my dad had passed away from cancer. So I was sick, I had pulled the arrow back, and I just like, I'm ready for the next chapter, right? So I felt like she was placed in my path at the right time. And that helped me to take that next kind of scary step, which was quitting my part-time but going nowhere job, opening the studio behind me, and just going full-fledged entrepreneur. So that was like a fast and furious year, and it was really terrifying at times. I was like texting her before I opened my first group training, bawling my face off. Like, again, my body was literally freaking out. I knew I could do it, but it was just my body, my unconscious, like pushing back, intense fear. That was one stage there, and that was in 2017. And then it planted a seed in my head about life coaching, like, because I knew I wasn't going to just be a fitness trainer. Like, I'm like, nah, that's not enough for me. There's something else. So maybe I'll look into life coaching. And then the doors opened, the path came in front of me for personal empowerment coach, working with emotions on a deeper level. And that opened the door to the current work with the gentle trauma release. So this all happened just before COVID and during COVID. It was a very massive time of healing and growth for me because it was so intense. Like, my business was shut down, the world was nuts, the media was nuts, everybody was acting nuts, right? And it was on top of that, taking this new step that was also terrifying. Again, there's a common theme. Terrifying new change and growth, right? So it became apparent to me as I was going through this training that I needed to address some of the pain I was carrying, because it's all unconscious and it can't be just talked out of, right? So I did work with my own coach for a couple of months while I was doing my training. And for me, that was a big step, because it is very hard for me to be vulnerable. It's easier now, but before it was like the hardest thing you could ask of me is to be vulnerable. So that was, to me, a huge step, to be held with another human in this safe space and release that baggage that was causing so much shame from my body, that made my body freak out at the idea of being seen or known. So that was an intense growth phase.
That's interesting, isn't it? The first lots of armor go to the first level of growth, and then it gets deeper and deeper, and this vulnerability. And I wonder why so many of us find being vulnerable so hard, and exposing yourself and being seen, and all this fear and resistance around that. What is your take on that?
I know for me, like the part of me that emerged, I would call it an archetype, like the warrior. She had the sword and shield up, and everyone was at arm's length from her tender heart. Like, her tender, true soul was stuffed down in the cellar, protected, right? Because of the experiences that it had, like bad experiences in school, chaotic home, dad who couldn't manage his anger. And it was layer upon layer of me retreating further and further back and not being safe. And it just not even it being modeled for me of to be vulnerable, not being modeled for me of how do we express emotions and be authentic without like emotionally dumping or oversharing. But it was a really stepping out of the safety, because that supposed safety was also keeping me unhappy and blocked.
So this warrior, I can see you as this warrior with this sword, because you had a lot to protect. And when she and had retreated so much. Who came, and I'm not saying replaced her, but which was the other character that came in who could, or part of you that could vulnerably share their heart in a safe way?
The archetype that I would share from a coaching perspective is woman energy. That was, and to me, the woman energy in this is meaning the wholeness of me, all the parts, good, bad, ugly, not just the performative parts. The whole me is equipped to look after me. The whole me, my woman energy, she is equipped to set boundaries, have standards, stand up for herself, but also show love, give and receive kindness, and be seen, while also being discerning about who has access to her and what level of access. So that was me coming back to my woman energy. I had to heal the little girl. I had to heal the warrior. I had to bring the little girl safely home so she stayed with me. And I indulge her by taking care of her, having fun and play, and not just grinding all the time. So I had to bring those parts back and just take charge as the woman energy, which sometimes I'll collapse because we all do, but that's okay.
That's beautiful. I love the whole image of this woman imagery of the wholeness. It's not just one warrior standing up on the mountain holding the fort, or the overachiever or the controller or whatever. It's this whole part of you that works together so beautifully that you can be the nurturer, but you can also be the one who has strong boundaries, and trusting that it's all there and it's all there for you to access. But as you said, depending on what we've been through, what our parents like, what's been modeled to us, it's not that easy to have access to that. So that was a huge transition, and you've done some of the work, but this was like next level, taking everything and bringing it up. It's almost, how long did that take? And you when you went through it, what was the new, I suppose, messaging that you were getting about yourself?
I think one of the big ones is that I don't really have anything to prove. And I trust myself to take things as they come. And I don't need to hide parts of myself, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. Because the truth is, I can be pretty cringy sometimes. I can be a little out there, and it might make people uncomfortable if they think that I'm just this buttoned up version of me. But that's okay. They're along for the ride. They'll get comfortable with it in time.
And isn't that lovely that you're not trying to morph yourself into what other people expect of you and society and whoever, but this is me, the whole part of me. No, I'm not just allowing you to see some of the parts. And I think women are so good at allowing people to see certain things that are deemed acceptable. And I guess when we hide things like shame, people pleasing, and survival patterns just get stronger and stronger, don't they?
Yes, it just keeps going on repeat. It's unconscious. For me, I knew that the shame was attached to trauma, that's where trauma resides and hangs out, shame and guilt. And when I was able to get that baggage off my back, so to speak, let that down, no longer mine, and I felt free again, I could also talk to the warrior and let her know she could put her gear down, the sword and shield. And she's a child, so she can go play. She can go run free in the grass, be a wild child, get dirty, play with rocks and sticks, whatever it is that she wants to do. And she doesn't need to take care of me.
That is so powerful, is when when that warrior of, or whoever it is, the controller, is allowed to just be a child and run off and go, I've been waiting for whatever many years. I'm done with this. And they're relieved, you're relieved, everybody's relieved. And there's this beautiful synergy of this person who was such an intricate part of your world and kept you safe for so long. But now that you've healed and you've done all this work, is no longer needed.
Yeah, and it's not like this clean thing where you just emerge and it's all done. No, it goes in little bits and bites and forward, backward. It felt unnerving. It's like you're stepping out of the deep, dark woods into the bright sunlight, very exposed. And there's also grieving. So I had to make space for grieving the little girl that did not feel safe, did not feel lovable, did not feel worthy, and what should have been and could have been that isn't going to be. So I gave myself space for that grieving, and it was actually a time of intense grieving as well.
Yeah, and that it makes sense because there must be regret as well. This little girl could have had this different life, and yet it didn't. And uh, y- y- you have to move through that. Otherwise, you get stuck in regret and, oh, it's not fair and it shouldn't have been like this. And then you don't allow this little girl to go out, as you said, drop the warrior and just go and play with the sticks and stones and be free and have fun. And then that resonates with you because it's you letting go, you having fun, you being more in the moment.
Yeah, so I still need to indulge my little girl, right? I
Mm.
need to play, I need to be carefree, I need to be silly, regardless of my age, while knowing that the woman in me is in charge. She doesn't need to step up.
Such powerful stuff, isn't it?
It
And
seems so simple, but it's
it
not.
does seem so simple, but was this internal family systems or what framework were you working with?
When I was going through my personal empowerment coaching with the SWAT Institute, the founder, one of the parts of the curriculum was her book. It's called The Emotional Edge. And we were learning about the archetypes. So the main overarching theme was woman energy, so empowered self, and then daughter or child, or mother or parent. So I also have a dominant mother energy archetype. So the child or the mother, they are not empowered, but they're like a fragment of you. So that was part of that applied teaching with the SWAT Institute. And it merges very well with the trauma work because they're always showing up for a reason. They're always showing up to keep you safe. They always have good intentions. They're just not really empowered to do that.
So what was the name, if anyone's listening and they want to find more about that, what's the name of the or book? Where can they find that information?
The book is called The Emotional Edge by Crystal Andrus Morissette. And those are things that I incorporate into my coaching with women as well.
Beautiful. And we will put a link to your coaching as well below. So if anyone wants to get in touch.
Cool.
So just what a story and what enormous growth. And thank you so much for sharing some of the ways that you got there, because often people are like, yeah, I have these feelings, but what do I do? What's the next step? Not doing it alone and taking your time, being compassionate, going through the stages of grieving, just allowing yourself time to go through the process is really important. So for the woman listening today, if she is still holding on to the belief that you have to be strong and hold everything together and show up in a certain way, what would you gently encourage her to become curious about?
I would have her consider, if I wasn't in this role, if it didn't make me a bad person, if no one could be hurt or disappointed, what would I want? Because sometimes women go years and decades without actually connecting to what they want. I've asked women what they want, and they cannot answer that question so much that it frustrates them to tears. And this is just a pattern. It's not a character flaw. And you can think about what's something I might do to move towards that. It may not come to you right away, but you might have to sit with it and just open yourself up to possibilities. Just because you functioned a certain way before does not mean that you can't decide that doesn't work for you anymore. It doesn't matter if people will be disappointed, because ultimately the ones who are there for you are going to go on this journey with you as you claim your whole self and go through a little bit of a transition.
Yeah, so it's being curious, but also being a little bit courageous as well, because some of it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's okay to not act immediately. You can just
Mm.
entertain the idea and get the creative downloads. Give yourself space, because if you're busy 24/7, you won't get the creative downloads. So that's something where you can lean into, who would I need to become to have that experience or to create that life? You're not going to just necessarily flip a switch, but it's just inviting curiosity so the next step might open up to you.
And that's lovely because it takes the pressure off. It's about being open and curious and without having deadlines and outcomes and goals, which is so pushed on us from our society. So it's a beautiful, gentle way of getting started. And if she remembers just one thing from your story, What do you hope she takes with her today?
I like to tell women that anything's possible. Just because you've existed a certain way or felt a certain way or a pattern has shown up, I like to think about lighting the way, like holding up the torch, like anything's possible. You don't need to become a performance machine to make things happen. But when it's felt deeply, like intuitively, like a body, yes, and you stay open, in my experience, the path opens up, even if it's only the first thing and you don't know where it's going. But when you allow that spaciousness connecting back to you, even if it feels out there, it's okay. Most of the things that have happened in my life, I did not pre plan. So the right door opened at the right time when I was more connected to myself and trusting that I can take things as they come.
Yeah, and I think it's a really powerful one to, because how much of what we do we control in our lives anyway, like a fraction. But being open to possibilities and ourselves intuitively, it gives us so much more fun, power, connection, and all the things that we're looking for.
And you're going to have a lot more fun along the way too. And that's kind of the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being, thank you to the divine feminine in you who could encompass all of that and be so vulnerable and share so many of those truths about how we live and the wisdom as well. So thank you, Ramona. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for this conversation and the opportunity to share.
Oh, pleasure. So, for the person listening, perhaps there was a moment today you recognized something in yourself. And if it was there, just stay curious because sometimes another woman's story helps us finally see our own. Thanks for listening.